Hi, welcome to Wake TV. So today Sue and I are gonna talk about what does embracing diversity means. So, it's not just about the culture or race. We have a lot of differences we are experiencing right now, even among family members, because we are all different people. Like we have a different souls, we have a different way of thinking, you know. So just because you're the family member, you're not gonna exactly think the same way, or just because you're in love with your partner doesn't necessarily mean you think exactly the same way. And Sue and I have noticed there are a lot of divisions occurring, nowadays. And then we want to talk about how we can, assist you, give you guys a tips, you know, our experiences, stuff like that for today. So my personal, point of view is it's very important for us to embrace differences. I know this because coming from Japan, they don't like different things. You have to all be the same, you know and I didn't like that. There's no diversity there. And US started to being more like a Japan. That's what I'm feeling. There's no appreciation for diversity, and then people are getting very sensitive about expressing your different opinions or being different. I mean, makes being who you are as a different person, having different opinions, having a different anything. It can be any differences is what makes US the best country in the world. And then that's the attraction factor for a lot of people, that's including Japanese people, want to immigrate here legally because this is a country of freedom. They don't tell you to conform in one way like Japan, you know. So I
Yeah.
wanted to you guys to think this first, and then let's get into the topic. So Sue, can you share with your own experience about this?
Yeah. Well, honestly, I don't know if I can say that America is the best place in the world to live because I've never lived anywhere else. So, I have to qualify, my opinion. But I think what you're saying is that one of the things we love about America is what it was born with, which is the ability to choose who we are going to be, the freedom
Mm-hmm.
to create what we wish to create. And what we used to call the melting pot, my interpretation of the melting pot of the United States was that because all of these different diverse people came to this country looking for freedom and a better way of life, that each culture and each opinion and mindset brought about diversity, and so it allowed Americans to create in a broader way because it isn't linear thinking. It's opinions and creationship from all different points of view, and I think that's what we love about America. And
Mm-hmm.
so, if we look at what's happening now and how people are falling out all over the place because of different opinions, I want to hit the core, what I believe is the core issue of that. And
Mm-hmm.
if you don't mind, and what I think it is we have become a society of mistrust and argument, but the core issue is we want to be right. We want to be correct, okay? And I think if we can detach from that a little bit and just go back to listening to one another, being able to hear opinions that are different than our own and say, okay, you know what, I love this person, or I really like this person, and I enjoy spending time with them. This is their opinion about it and this is what drives their behavior, then I'm understanding that person. I don't have to fight about it. I don't
Yeah,
have to say, my point is right because of this or this study or this doctor or this whatever, this politician. It's not important. What's really important is the interaction that we have with our personal relationships. And if we can meet each other and say, we start with, we can agree to disagree, and that's okay. Now I want to hear what you have to say.
yeah, that's
And
emotional maturity. Like you are emotionally mature enough to accept different person's opinion that you're not gonna get emotional about it, right?
yeah, I think so. And let's stop with the name calling. Can we please? I mean, gosh, love doesn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Love doesn't make, if I love you and I have a disagreement with you, which I do, by the way, I do love you, Erica.
We love each
Um,
other. Mhm. Well, we have a different opinion on many things, you know.
yeah, we do. But, if I'm saying to you, well, Erica, that's stupid what you just said. I mean, I'm trying to put you below me, and I never see you that way. I don't see anybody in my life or even in the world that way. I mean, the man on the street who's homeless, I don't see that way because whatever circumstances led that man to be where he is and what he's going through, it's his journey, right? But, so getting back to personal relationships, we can disagree because we honor one another with a higher vibration, which is we have the love.
Yeah.
And if we can proceed that way, even with people we don't really know, if we can say, you're part of the human, because you've said, Erica, and maybe you could talk about it again, how we all want the same things.
Yeah, like we all want the same thing, right? We all want to be happy. We all want to be fulfilled. We want to feel safe. And then we want to feel free enough to say anything you want, you know? Um, when we feel like we always have to walking on the eggshells and then because we are worried about what other people think or stuff like that, we can't really say anything anymore, and then we're gonna start being fake, you know. One
Yeah.
thing, people kind of thought what makes America different from other countries was people aren't afraid of expressing their opinions. Not anymore now. They are too politically correct. I don't know what's happened to our country. But, people used to be, very, they don't care. That's my opinion. I'm going to say that. That's very attractive in a way because you're very confident in yourself, right? And then the other
Yeah.
person have their own opinion and they say their opinion, and that's different from you, but that makes new point of view. By talking with each other, you can see new perspective or something can born out of it. You're not going to be stuck and stagnant into narrow-minded thinking because everybody's thinking in the same way. We are not a robot, you know
Yeah.
so in order for us to grow as human beings, it's very important to celebrate the different point of view, different point of different religion. It's not like my religion is better than yours. I mean, you and I no longer believe in organized religion, but for example, it's not like who is better than or which race is better than. It's not like that. Difference,
Yeah.
being a difference makes us as a special species. Even in different galaxies, we don't have so many different races in one planet. Everybody often do look very similar, like fraternal twins, and then you do think the same way because we are collective consciousness. And then, well, that's fine in higher frequency beings. But what fascinating about Earth is so much different things jammed into one planet. So much difference. And then how can we come into harmony? That's what ascension is all about.
Well, you know, I wanted to mention, um, if you open up to, okay, say there's this group of people that are, you know, like skinhead types, for example, right? Or the people that are maybe neo-Nazis and don't like people of color, you know, just since we're talking about diversity, fear about a group like that, I think it just brings about like a balancing behavior that makes them more wound up and it proves their point. You know what I'm saying? When the opposing sides, so to speak, keep going at each other, it's almost like they're proving their point. See, I told you you can't trust them because they did this. Well, then they responded this way, and now they're going, I can't trust them because look what they just did. And it's like a snowball, and it just keeps getting more and more big, the conflict. Whereas I think if we could at least listen a little bit to the points that others are making, even as possibly abhorrent as they may feel at the time, get an understanding of where that mindset came from, then maybe further discussion can happen about how to bridge this, the distance. But
Well, you know,
ignorance of the other side does not make a situation better. And pushing down the information that comes from the other side doesn't make it better. I think it adds fuel to the conflict. Where, no, so I'm not saying I'm going to go hang out, you know, like I'm going to listen and now I'm going to go hang out and go to a meeting. We can choose who we put into our direct path, but being willing to be open to hearing, okay, and maybe disseminating. Why do they think the way they do? What experiences may have caused them to feel this way? It's just like I can't in this lifetime understand what it was like to be a slave or have any family members that were slaves. But if I listen to my friends that have, or other people, you know, in the community who have ancestors that were slaves, and see how that consciousness gets passed down through the generations. So yes, this person that's currently living has never been a slave, but it's a consciousness that gets passed down from the generations into a belief system for the person now. This is why they carried it over.
yeah, it's a
And
cell memory.
yeah, and it's fear, and it's all kinds of things. It's pain that's come down through the generations. So like if I can start wrapping my mind around where their thoughts may have come from and have a little bit of empathy that if I was raised that way, maybe I would think that way too.
Yeah,
Then we start to bridge, and that's what I think diversity, you know, embracing diversity is. It's like open our ears a little bit, open our minds, be a little bit more empathetic, have some compassion for others who have different experiences than we have.
yeah, because
And
we are all programmed since we are child. So,
yeah,
you know, up to age 7, we are very like sponge. So whatever our parents teach us, you know, if you grow up in neo-Nazi household, they're gonna teach you about that concept, and then you totally believe in that.
yeah,
So, you know, I'm not saying like one is better than the other, but we're just using that as an example. So, you know, even you and I are not like escaping from this programming if we were in their shoe, right? So
right.
we are not like saying, okay, we agree on their concept or something. But let's say, you know, if we are started to interacting with each other as a human being, you know, and then we can come up with some common ground as a humans, you know, and then once we started to interacting, we can find something together.
And my goals in my life have always been to prove them wrong about me. And what I mean about that is, okay, I've encountered many people in my life of uh, a different color than myself that have just kind of looked at me and thought, oh, white girl, and possibly even a fluent white girl because of the way I speak. Not that that's the case, but there may be some generalizations a person could judge about me just by my outer appearance and how I speak. And my goal has been for many years to prove them wrong. Okay. Whatever color my skin is, I think it's more peach than white, but whatever, I digress. If my behavior is different than what they would expect, like I'm just being heart to heart with people. I meet people where they are, and I have conversations with people, and I'm kind to people no matter what color their skin is. So if I continue to do this, and that's where my sphere of influence is, I can be who I am and meet people as who I am, then maybe we start to change mindsets. So instead of getting angry and saying, how dare you look at me and make judgments of me, and this is what I had in my life. See, I find people doing this. They're talking about, well, I'm not white privileged. I grew up poor, and I this and I that. So like I feel like we're still combating each other, like we're trying to validate who we are, and we're fighting these stereotypes because as a society, I don't know how we got this way, but it's just been so imposed on us to make judgments right off the bat just by the face value of how somebody looks. So for me, I think the only way I can counter this is by proving them wrong, like showing them that just because I am a white person and I have come from a good background and I have an education and all that, it doesn't mean I'm judging you, and it doesn't mean that we can't have a conversation, because like you said, we share common desires in this world. We want to be loved, we want to be safe, we want to be happy, we want to be able to pursue our goals in life.
But we
And
don't want to be abandoned too.
no, we don't want to be abandoned either, and we don't want to be judged. And I can never look at somebody and know what their story is until they tell me. I've learned that. And I guess that's all the years
Yeah.
of being a social worker, coming out there. But, and also being in the Army. I mean, the Army is a very diverse group of people.
Mhm.
And you would think that they were of, everybody that was, that's in the military, they have this group think or some kind, but no, it's very diverse. There are people from many different religions and spiritualities and backgrounds and socioeconomic. Um, I mean, it really is a huge melting pot in the military. And so that what we learned really quickly is the only thing that mattered is we were all wearing the same uniform and we're all working for the same goals. And
Yeah.
pretty quickly, a lot of those gaps that would happen out in regular society, like you're in basic training, this just becomes, all right, how are we going to survive our drill sergeant or sergeants? But we got to do this together, and we've got to come together as a unit, because if we don't, that's when we're going to suffer.
Yeah, and then I bet the military people are uniting for the love of this country, right? That's a common ground everybody is having. So
Yeah.
we can use this concept as an American, regardless of your family member might have seen a lot of different way from what you are seeing, and then instead of feeling really stressed out about it, having anxiety about it, getting angry about it, we can agree, with each other as a different point of view. Because if we try to convince the other person more and more, we meet resistance.
And if we hear them out, it doesn't mean we change or say, I mean, we might change.
Yeah,
God knows, if we get another perspective, we might go, I never thought about it that way. And,
yeah, that's
you know,
fun.
that's great. Um, but just like being able to hear one another's perspective. And I'm not saying we got to go into things ad nauseum, but if I get a basic, okay, I got a good example that just popped into my head. So when the whole virus thing and mask
So let's
wearing,
not talk about.
well, I'll make it quick. It isn't political, I
No,
promise you.
to-
I used to think,
hold on. we can talk about that on YouTube.
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
so make it as general as possible, because I'm listening to all other truthers channel who are still having their stuff on because they don't really get into the topic.
Well, no,
Yes.
the thing I'm going to say is, okay, like,
So
all right, let's talk about nude beaches. I'll change the example.
okay, I got nothing. This is cutting point. Okay, so what's your example? What did you say? Okay, so what did you come up to?
Well, I was just thinking that it used to be that I would, okay, so if we're talking about example, nude beaches,
Mm-hmm.
right? My point of view is I'm not really that into that sort of thing.
Me
But
neither.
yeah, it's not my thing. But that doesn't mean that if other people decide they want to go out and be nude on a beach together, that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, they can do that.
So, I had another example in mind, but we have to be careful because of YouTube. But all I'm saying is that who's right and who's wrong, I don't know. Is it wrong to be nude on a beach? Is it wrong to want to wear the bathing suit? Does it really freaking matter? I don't think so. But if I can respect the other side and say, it's okay, I don't have to go to the beach, but the fact that you have a nude beach and you have the right and the freedom to express that part of yourself on that nude beach,
Mm-hmm.
that's fine.
Yeah,
See,
that's
it's
what
all I'm
freedom
saying.
is. You
Exactly.
can you can do what you want to do in your, based on your belief, and then you feel really excited and happy about that. You can have that, right? It's not like, okay, you're having a different opinion, that let's smash you, or you're nudist person, let's arrest you. Like,
Oh, I know.
it's not
It's
like that.
crazy. Or the fact that people would, take down a post on social media or anything else because people are talking about their nude beach or they're having a discussion about it, or they're giving facts about it. Honestly, really? We're going to shut them down and not allow them to speak with each other
Yeah,
within their own group? I mean,
that
why?
that's what makes, used to how America was, before everything. I don't know what's happened to this country, but seriously, that's how made America a strong country. Just because, of course, we have to struggle to how to meet the differences in different kind of way, but people accepted each other's freedom. Like nudists can do their thing over there, as long as we are not like
As long
doing
as they're not forcing it on
drastically,
us.
a drastically crazy thing, like, we're not gonna have some kind of serial killer village or something. That's not acceptable, because that's universally not good. But whatever it is, nudist or whatever, if they want, they feel this is right, and that they want to express, and that they want to put, their enjoyable picture without showing everything. I mean, it shouldn't be any problem, right? And America used to be okay with that. So I feel like, I can feel this way because, especially, I came from originally from the culture where you have to be the same as everybody else, and that's suffocating.
Yeah.
That's suffocating. Like,
Well,
it's not
we
the law
can't.
is written, you have to be this way, but society expects you to be the same, having the same opinion, same point of view, be the same. What's if you're different? You know?
I don't think we can express our highest creativity and the magnificence that we have within us, our own ability to create in life and to explore and to learn and to enjoy, if everybody's being a mono society. If we're
Mhm.
all the same, we're all wearing the same clothes, we're all talking about the same, I mean, not to mention how boring would that be.
It is. And
But
then,
going back to the nude beach, example, these people aren't coming to the other beaches and saying you have to take your bathing suit off, are they? They're not. If they come to the beaches that are clothing
Mhm.
mandatory, they're wearing clothing. They're not trying to impose it onto somebody else. And I think maybe this is linking into another important aspect, which is not only do we not need to be tied to other people's truths or proving we're right, we need to let go of that. But then as long as what our opinion is isn't hurting somebody else,
Mhm.
then why do you need to shut me up?
Yeah, that's true. Because you know, thinking too much about what other people think by using something is too, I think, form of control, 100% for sure, because that's like a psychological manipulation. Because
Yeah.
we are free enough to say whatever we feel like, and then that was my point of view of love of this country, and then I'm so proud to be an American because you can be free. You can say anything you want, you know, and
Well,
then
you used to be able to. We
yeah,
need to get back to it.
not anymore. Like it's politically correct thing happened sometime. I don't know when it was, but that was starting to conforming people to be so careful about what you say. So then, after all, you cannot say anything anymore to anybody. Then you always have to have a fake conversation with each other to not offend anyone. That's
And I don't think that's living.
that's not authentic.
That's not free. That's not really living. And not only that, the censorship, I mean, it's just gotten out of control. You can't even talk about support of somebody, or they'll take you off. Or if you talk about a study that doesn't agree with the mainstream, they'll take you off. If you talk about even just an opinion about certain things, and you put it on social media, they'll ban you, or they'll punish you for so many days, and if you don't get in line, then they'll take your channel down. I mean, what the hell? Did I wake up in another country?
Yeah, it seems like this is totally different country from where America used to be, right?
Yeah.
How this country was strong. It's nothing to do with how much weapon you we have. Not that. It's about the core strength of this country is about the diversity. Core strength about this country is celebrate each other's differences. Core strength of this country is to accept the differences and then still be free about it. That made America stronger than any other country in the world. And then we're losing that. So, even among family members, how do we deal with the differences? That's what main topic we're going to talk about because a lot of people are stressing over about those differences. How are you handling to come into the harmony with family member? Can you share something, Sue?
Yeah, I'll just say for myself, um, and I have both sons living with me now because of the schools. I live in New York, and being closed down, the university and the high school, they're home all the time.
Mhm.
And so anyway, there's big differences in opinions on certain things related to politics, related to spirituality. I mean, we all have our own thing, including even me and my husband. So what we do
Mhm.
is, if we are going to talk about something, usually it comes up with the boys. Honestly, I hate to put boys and versus girls, but boys aren't as emotive as girls are in my family. But if they are going to talk about something, obviously they're geared up about it. And so um, yeah, if they're going to talk at all, they're geared up about it. So I want to at least hear and understand, and that way I know where each one stands on the issues. And I may not agree, but I'm not going to be rude about it. I'm going to be respectful, because after all, I love these people and I want them in my life. And so I will hold space. We call it holding space for someone. Um, I don't have to agree with what they're saying, but if especially if something's bothering them, you know, or they got geared up about something, I mean, how can I be there for them as a family member if I won't even hear what they have to say? So it's like a compartmentalization where I can take my opinion about the issue and put it in a box and let it stay in that box while I have this discussion. Because it isn't about me, it's about me hearing what this person I love is saying or needs to talk about or needs to get off their chest or whatever. So, and then I find that if I hear something that I just absolutely don't agree with, but I know that they are convinced of, I'll just
Mhm.
ask them to tell me more about it. So I'm not trying to
Very
solve the
good.
problem for them. I'm giving them a space to speak about it.
Mhm.
And then every once in a while, when I feel like it's safe to do so, I might throw in a, well, what if this were the case? You know, have you considered that maybe it isn't this? Could it be this? But in my opinion, that's a respectful way of saying it. It's like a suggestion, right? Take it
Yeah.
or leave it. They might go, oh, no, you're full of crap. It doesn't have anything to do with that. Okay, then I know where they're at. But, you know, I can try to sneak something in there in a very respectful way. Say, have you considered this side of things? But all in all, it's a respectful conversation.
Yeah,
Because
that's
if
a
I,
very mature way of bringing up the differences.
yeah, and after all, my main goal in the whole thing is I want these people in my life and I want to communicate with them and I want them to talk to me, especially
Yeah.
if they're struggling with something. They're not going to do that if I hammer them with my opinion or what my truth is or judgment on what their belief is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not conducive, that kind of behavior of like this fighting back and forth and who's right and who's wrong. It's really not solving anything. It's not helping the relationship.
That,
Um,
yeah. I
how
mean,
about you?
I
What do
have
you?
a, I have a, my mother is a very difficult person to deal with. So she's very judgmental and stuff like that. So I did learn, um, of course she doesn't stop talking. So I did learn to listen what she has to say. And then
Yeah,
she is trying to make me convert, me into her, whatever. So I listen. And then I said, well, my point of view is this. So I just drop my truth and then, conversation is over. So I'm not trying to convince her or anything, but I stand my truth and my where I'm coming at. And then, if she doesn't agree with it, too bad. I don't care. But we are still like family member. It's not like I'm gonna stop talking to her, you know.
yeah.
And we are fine with it. I mean, she eventually comes to a conclusion like, well, I can convince her, but I'm not gonna stop talking about my opinion. So
Yeah.
it's fine.
Well, and I think what you're saying is you're not attached to her changing her mind, but you're going to also stand up with courage and speak your truth. That takes courage
Well,
to speak our truth.
she was trying to change me, but I can. I mean, I have my opinion, and then she's very old, so I don't really think she'll change, and she wants to change. When she does something to her partner, and then it's obviously not great. That's not how I handle in the situation. Then if she is clueless about it, I give her a tip about how she can improve here and there. you know but that's about it. Whether she's gonna take my opinion or not is her choice you know
I think speaking about that, let's talk about boundaries a little bit. And what popped into my mind is, I made it sound like we can talk about everything in my household. That is not true. Even though even though I want to, okay, I want it to be an open dialogue. But when one of my kids says they put their hands up, I don't want to talk about that, or they give me the face and let's just not talk about that.
uh-huh.
they're giving us a boundary when they're communicating to me a boundary, which is I know we don't agree on this and I don't even want to discuss it. Let's talk about something else instead. So
That's a good idea.
that sounds like avoidance and whatnot, but I think it's also respectful for me to say, okay, I hear your boundary, and it's okay if you don't want to talk about it. Let's talk about something else. Where do we meet on common ground? And I think for other people this might be helpful, because have you ever been in a room with that? And I think you're kind of talking about that with your mom. You ever been in a room with that person that just will not drop the topic because they just want to get their point across and all that,
I think
right?
I walk away.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So if we want to avoid the walk away syndrome, or the I don't talk to you anymore syndrome, or geez, I'm avoiding getting together with you at Christmas or whatever holiday syndrome, we have to pick up on the boundaries that are being set. If another person that you care about says, I don't want to talk about that, I think that's our cue to
Walk out.
say, okay, what do you want to talk about? Because
Uh-huh.
if we stop pushing our agenda, because that's all that is, when someone really wants to hammer something home, they're pushing an agenda.
Yeah.
And the base behind that is, I'm trying to change you, like you were saying with your mother. And I experienced that too. So believe me, I got the t-shirt. That's how I learned how to set boundaries, and how to respect other people's boundaries. But I mean, embracing diversity is not just I accept everything that you're saying, I accept everything that you're saying is your truth. I accept that my truth is true too.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about it where we can. If somebody's putting up a boundary, let's hear the boundary. Let's not ignore it and keep pushing our truth.
Yeah, that's 5D consciousness, because truths are not only one, so as the timelines. So, this is only this way and that way. That's a very lower vibrational frequency, because higher, vibrational society, they are very inclusive.
Yeah.
You can be
Yeah.
you, I can be me,
And
and
I
then,
think that's also called unconditional love.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
When you can accept a person exactly the way they are and you want them in your life, you respect them for exactly who they are. I think that's loving a person unconditionally. Whether you choose to be with them or not,
yeah,
you
and
can
that's a great
say,
idea for your own sake, to reduce your anxiety and the stress,
yeah,
by being with a family member or loved one who is totally different from you. I mean, if that's a relationship like a marriage, you can end that, if you want to. But it's very difficult to cut the tie from your blood family, like you somewhat have to deal with your blood family, whether you like it or not, and then we have to gain or learn our skills how to deal with someone who is totally different from you.
and I would say, if it, and Matt Kahn says this, you know who Matt Kahn is, right? And I agree with him 100%. If it's a situation where it is a family member and you're in an abusive relationship, they're in any way, any kind of abuse, it's okay to walk away from that.
Yeah,
Emotional abuse, physical abuse, all that, because just because they have our blood running through us doesn't mean we have to take that.
yeah,
Um, but I agree with you. It is harder for us as a social construct to walk away from family members. And so I think these coping mechanisms that we've been talking about, and these ways of opening up and listening and respecting one another, having enough respect for each other to say, I hear your boundary. I hear you don't want to talk with me. You may not say it out loud, but you're recognizing that they're putting up a boundary and say, okay, next subject. Let's talk about something else.
hmm,
Let's talk about something that we can have a discussion about where we're not super uncomfortable. So respecting each other, that's what keeps families from telling each other all to F off is when we can start being respectful of our differences rather than focusing on it. I think
yeah,
the big rows, the big fights, the fallouts. I think they'll stop if people can start being willing to listen to other opinions, stop being tied to being right all the time, and respecting each other's boundaries as
Yeah,
human beings.
that comes from you gotta be emotionally mature, and also in a way you gotta be heal your wounded inner child and other stuff in order to get that point. Some people are too wounded, so they can stop manipulating the other person, to do exactly what you want to do. So, but we're just talking about in general how we can find our peace within the differences. So how can we accept someone who kind of like decided to have a distance, and then if the person want to come back to your life, how can we come into like a peace and a harmony within yourself? How can we do that?
Well, my opinion is that, especially if there's a long history and there's been a separation and now we're coming back, we want to come back together. I think that we have to stop looking backwards and trying to sort it all out, especially if it's years and years of history. Um, and I think we have to start with where we are now, what we agree on, which is we care about each other or we love each other enough. We want to come back together and fresh slate, start new.
Yeah, that's very good. And then that's not only that concept is always can apply not just family member but the relationship too. If both of you agree to reunite with each other and start new, it's very important to let go of any kind of expectations, including negative ones, like he's always that way, he's always acting that way, or she's always, this way or that way. We have to let that thing go, maybe including going through the healings and stuff. So you have a zero expectation of this person, and then you can start a fresh slate.
Yeah,
With
because
him.
people can change a lot. They can make a sudden change
Mm-hmm.
because they've had an aha light bulb moment in their life, something very pivotal that made them change basically everything, who they are, how they think, how they behave. And people can gradually change over time. So, I mean, if you've been away from this person for a year or two or whatever, or even a couple of months, you may be actually coming together with a very different person
Mm-hmm.
than the one that you left behind, back there. So like you said, Erica, making assumptions about how they're going to be is probably not the best strategy for starting new.
Yeah, that's a self-limitation and blocks, and then also probably coming from wound as well. And if any of you guys are experiencing something like that in relationships or family, situation, Sue and I are here to help you guys to go through these wounds.
Yeah. Hey, do you know that Pina Colada song by Rupert Holmes?
Yeah.
Yes, I like. Yeah, okay. So I'm sure a lot of people have heard that song. You know what always amazes me every time I hear it is they've been together a long time. They've been together too long, he said,
Uh-huh.
more than once. They both got bored with each other. So they so they put ads in the paper to meet somebody new. They're going to escape, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And then when they meet up in the bar and they realize it's one another and they go, wait a minute, I didn't even know you liked pina coladas. I didn't know you liked getting caught in the rain. And I didn't know you liked moonlit walks on the beach. What the hell have you two been talking about all this time? How could you be sick of each other when you don't even know what each other likes to drink?
Mhm.
So I'm making a joke because I want to say this. There's always more to know about another person.
Yeah.
And no matter how long you've been together.
Yeah, and then also, it's very, important to find out. It's not like sometimes the time you need to close certain chapters in your life, and then dragging on to certain situation is not helpful for soul growth. But sometimes universe gonna keep you bringing back to the same person, like, okay, that's not like you're supposed to be ending with this person. And then that's something like indication that you gotta find a new way to work with a person with new slate.
Yeah.
So any last tips you can give to our audience?
Just what Einstein used to say: if you keep attacking the problem with in the same way and expecting a different outcome, I don't know. I think he called that the definition of stupidity, but I don't like judgmental terms like that. I'll just say, try a different way. Why not?
Yeah, and
Because
then
if you're still attracted to this person and you still want them in your life, that just means you need to try it another way if you
mhm,
want if you want to make it work.
yeah, and then you know as a relationship coach, I can see that in order for all of us to start seeing a new perspective, all this healing, all these regressions, all this stuff is very helpful. So we are dropping off certain programs or beliefs or limitations, and then once that's dropped off from ours, we can totally see it in broader perspective. So it's very important to do something about it within you before you expect other person to change as well. Like a lot of people are saying, oh, he doesn't change, she doesn't change, he's a problem, she's a problem, I don't have a problem, I work myself long enough. Often the case that is not the case. Of course, you thought you worked a lot, but there are always something within your subconscious mind or the soul memory, something you could improve yourself about. Is some programming or some beliefs or some wound you can remove from yourself, which you couldn't have any access with. What do you think, Sue? We meet those clients all the time.
Totally. And I always say if an individual is looking to change another, then they have not done the work for themselves. So the only one we can ever change in our whole lives is ourselves. And we're the only ones that have the power to do that.
Yeah.
So if I encounter someone who is saying what you talked about, like, oh, this person has the problem and it's not me, and I automatically know they're in victim mentality. So I try to bring it constantly back to the individual and say, okay, establish where they're at and what they need to work at within themselves. And why do they have a desire to change somebody else?
Yeah, we can. That's another
No.
thing about today's topic, like, embracing diversity, you know, and that's what makes the life beautiful. And then if your partner is exactly same as you, it's too boring to be with, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Uh-huh.
I agree.
Yeah. So next week we're gonna talk about more topics, and then Sue and I are looking forward to talking with you next week. Thank you
Oh,
so much.
yeah, one other thing.
Mhm.
If you guys have anything that you want to ask us to talk about, leave it in the comments, okay?
Oh yeah, please do that because we wanna whatever the topic you want us to talk about too, please. So please subscribe, like, share, and then we see you guys next Friday. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, that was a good recording. What do you think?